Travel Saturday with Sarah and Ed on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.
With Visit New Jersey. From sky to shore, from sun to snow. With winning historic cities.
See visitnj.org.
Sarah Slattery, the travel expert, is here with the ultimate holiday checklist. 20 things to do before you go. This is great. I wish I had this 2 weeks ago. Sarah, where were you? All right, let's start with the obvious, your documents.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think at this stage we're all on the countdown and you're sort of almost looking for things to do. So I assume by now most people have checked their passports, but obviously if you haven't, that's a given. But just also check, like there's still a couple of things people forget about, like you still need an ESTA to go to the States. If you're going to somewhere like Turkey, your passport needs to be valid for 6 months. So just maybe have a quick Google at the Department of Foreign Affairs website, make sure there's no restrictions in the country you're going to, and that you have all your documents or testing or any sorts of inoculations or anything like that you need if you're going long haul, that they're up to date. No harm to check that before you go.
Actually, with the ESTA, there's a particular website you go on, because we were stung before. We went onto the one where they charged a fortune for it, and it was like almost like a third party who did it for you. You don't need to do that. You can get it much cheaper.
Yeah, the main Department of Homeland Security website, it's the standard one, that you don't need to go into any third party.
No, don't Google it. Don't Google it. Go to, exactly, because that's where people get stuck.
I think I have a link in my post. I'm sure I do anyway. If not, I'll add it in.
Great, okay. The luggage allowances. Now, we thought we were great with our luggage. We got to the airport and our 20 kilo bag was 22 kilo. And you want to see me there? I was trying to take a few things out. Obvious things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I find now I really try not to check in a bag, especially if you're going in the summertime and you know if the weather's going to be good, you can get away without it. It's harder in the winter, or if you're going in May or something. But if you're going in July, August, and you know you're going to have 30 degrees or whatever you're going to have, you really should get away with a 10 kilo case. Get one of those really lightweight bags. I love the Samsonite Light Shock, but there's cheap ones at pennies as well. Just the really, really lightweight ones to maximise. Get rid of any trunkies or anything like that if you're travelling with kids, because they're just not practical. No. Give everyone, as long as the kids can wheel a 10 kilo case, let them off. And I've found now the last couple of times, you get away with about 10.9 on those self-service check-ins. So you almost get 11 kilos now before you're caught. And of course you can bring your bag on board. The other thing to remember is that Aer Lingus will let you check in a 10 kilo bag for free now, which is huge, so really take advantage of that. It means you can bring whatever liquids you want as well. You're not worrying about keeping things under 100 ml if you check it in. If you're with Ryanair and you're bringing it on board, it's a different story. So obviously, just check what kind of luggage allowance you have, whether if you are bringing it on board, that you have you get your proper liquids under 100 ml ready and all that kind of thing. So there is a little bit of planning involved with that.
And actually, the cabin cases that you can buy, you need to be careful. They can only be certain dimensions, can't they?
Yeah, again, go on. They're pretty standard, most of them now, but go on to the airline's website if you're unsure, if you have an old case, and just make sure it does fit the dimensions. They're all listed on airlines, right? And every airline's different, In some of the long-haul carriers, the cabin baggage might only be 7 kilos, it might be 10. So they all kind of have different amounts. Some charge you to check them in, some don't charge you to check them in. Like even Aer Lingus and Ryanair have very, very different policies. So it's important to be aware of what you actually have.
Now, we spoke before, Sarah, about how to avoid losing your luggage, and you're a big fan of the AirTags, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, they're really, really handy. I mean, and they're so cheap. They're like €35. So I kind of think everybody should just have one. I know families who use them, put them on their kids' bikes when they're going off in case their bikes get robbed.
Good idea.
There's just no harm to have one. You can get pack of 3 and you can put them in all cases, but it's peace of mind. It's known when you're sitting on that plane and you're 4 hours in and you can check, my bag is on the plane. I can relax and kick back and have a glass of wine.
Yeah, I need one of them for my car keys. Always losing them. All right, travel insurance is a big thing. It's only when something happens you go, oh God, why didn't I get it?
Nobody wants to think things will go wrong, do they? I mean, it's just, the holidays are such a happy time. It's positive thinking. You don't want to go down that route. And a lot of people think that they can depend on the European Health Insurance card, the EHIC, but that only covers you in a public hospital. It doesn't cover you if you have to stay over there and, change your flights, come back early, come back late, if your baggage goes missing, if you need something like an air ambulance or anything major. So, in travel insurance is one of the cheapest parts of the holiday. So really, you just should not leave home without it. If COVID has taught us anything, you have to have travel insurance.
I know. A pal of mine, not too long ago, this year actually broke his leg on a long weekend away and thought that he'd be covered, but there was some issue with couldn't get into a public hospital, had to go private, and I think his bill was $3,500 or something.
Yeah, that's the one thing about, even in Europe, look, the European health card, it only covers you in a public hospital. Yeah. It's the same service you get here. Some countries' public service system in Europe is great, but there's plenty that isn't, So if you need an emergency and you need to go private, you need to have your travel insurance without a doubt. And it's important that you book it at least 2 weeks in advance, because a lot of insurance policies have moratoriums in place, particularly for cancellation. It's to stop people knowing they've cancelled their holiday for some reason or another and taking out insurance the day before and then ringing up the next day and cancelling.
Yeah.
So there's a 2-week moratorium for a lot of issues, for COVID or cancellation and things like that. So make sure you book. I mean, you should really book your insurance when you should book your holiday, but I know a lot of us don't. But at least book it 2 weeks before.
Okay. You also mentioned in your post there about the car hire excess insurance.
This is brilliant for anybody who's hiring a car. You can actually get a yearly policy. It's €49 in Europe, or a single policy is $2.99 a day. Now, I don't know if you've hired cars, but these people at the desks, they're the best sales people known to man.
Oh, listen, we've gone in and hired cars and we're like, how did that actually cost us the price of a house?
And they just blind you with signs. They tell you you're going to have an accident and it's going to cost you $5,000, and you're tired, kids hanging out, you just want to get to your apartment, so you pay whatever they ask, basically, which you shouldn't do. But at least by having the car hire excess, you book it before you go. Typically, car hire excess would charge you between €15 and €30 a day at the desk. And if you book it before you go, it's $2.99 a day. So it's like unbelievable difference. Can't recommend it enough. I always get it.
Yeah. Now, some people might go on holidays and they don't really know what they're going to do from day to day, but you're a big fan of an itinerary and booking stuff in advance.
I know. I'm a bit of a planner now, I have to say.
But I think you're right, because the last thing you want is to turn up to something and figure out that you can't get in that day because it's not on that day, or they close on a Sunday, or they're sold out.
Well, that's true. I mean, there's absolutely that, because particularly if you're going in July, August, it's peak season. I mean, I'm going to Greece at the end of July. I tried to book a boat trip there the other day.
Holiday?
I know, imagine.
Sarah.
I know, but it's 5 weeks away and it's full. I can't believe it. I can't get this boat trip, and I should have booked it months ago. But one thing I also like about booking things in advance is you tend to go, whereas when you get to a place and you're lying on your lovely sun lounger and the pool's in front of you, you get a bit lazy. So the week could have gone by and you haven't done anything. So at least if you pre-book it, I mean, most of them you can cancel 24 hours or 48 hours in advance anyway. So you don't really have anything to lose. But at least if you've something booked, you're more inclined to actually go and do that trip or do the boat trip or do whatever it is. So I always recommend at least booking one thing. Probably something you can't do at home would be even better, but just have something, because it definitely helps you actually. It makes the whole experience, the holiday experience, all the better, I think.
Oh, just we did a speedboat, and my daughter hasn't been the same since. She's traumatised.
Oh, God.
All right, okay. Foreign currency. Now, we're so used to the euro, sometimes we don't even think about this.
I know, and there's so many different ways. I think a lot of people are used to Revolut now, but there is, there's one really handy thing that An Post have brought out, particularly if you're going to the States or if you're going somewhere where you are watching currencies. An Post is great. There's no currency charges. Firstly, if you are changing cash there, which is great. A lot of people aren't aware of that. But they have a money card as well. And they've developed this new thing on the app, which I really like. So if you download the app, you can actually track the foreign currency. So if you're not going to later in the year, you can set up a rate alert. So say you want the dollar to be, whatever, 120 or whatever it is, you can watch, well, actually, when it gets to this price, I'm going to buy. And you can set up that rate alert on the An Post Money app. And it's really, really handy, because it's especially if you're going Christmas shopping in the States.
Yeah, that's deadly.
It's a really, really handy one. That's a kind of a new thing. But I've used the An Post currency card a few times, and it's really, really handy because you can change money without any fees. Literally, you can do it via the app very instantly. It's a really good one to have.
It's changed, hasn't it? Remember the old days going into the bank weeks in advance trying to get your money changed, booking it in. Another one I like on your list here is contacting the hotel about the facilities that they have and what's in the room, because after coming back from this holiday, I realised I shouldn't have brought half the stuff that I brought.
Yeah, particularly, that's true, particularly with families, because in this day and age of expensive luggage fees and bags going missing and all sorts of things, you just want to bring the least amount you can, and especially family hotels, you'd be amazed the baby equipment they have available, whether it's buggies or sterilizers or bottle warmers. A lot of them actually have the equipment there. You just have to ask for it, and you just have to request it's in your room. They may only have a certain number, so you need to pre-book it. But also, not necessarily families, but for couples or someone who wants, a ground floor, a sea view, they don't want to be up and down stairs or near a noisy nightclub, or if you have special requests, most people don't bother contacting the hotel. So do it. Send the email. At least if you get there and you're at reception, you can say, look, I've already asked for this. You may not be guaranteed to get it, but you certainly have a better chance if you've asked for in advance and you've emailed the hotel.
Yeah, we put in a request for early check-in because we were arriving at about 10 in the morning and check-in wasn't until 3. And in fairness, I think they managed to get us in at about, maybe was it 11:30 or so. So they had a priority to get our room cleaned. And so if you do that, if you're arriving early, do ask for the early check-in and they'll get your room cleaned as soon as they can. Another thing that I noticed in our hotel, sure, I brought the hairdryer and everything, the shampoos, conditioners, all the rest with me. Yeah. And our hotel had actually, I think it's the first, a really good hairdryer. Normally they're awful. And really fancy kind of shampoos, conditioners, shower gels, all that stuff in the hotel. You know the way when they're attached to the wall? Yeah. Not the little tiny ones that you sneak home with you. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't have brought all that stuff. And actually another thing, beach towels. They gave us 3 beach towels and I had gone into Penny's and bought 3 of them and brought them in the luggage. So that probably weighed
really
an awful lot. Yeah. So,
and I'd say a lot of people wouldn't think, I wouldn't have even thought that give you beach towels. So that's a great one.
Yeah,
that's exactly what the type of thing to find out, because we all bring way too much stuff that we don't need at all, and then you wear the same 3 things over and over.
So we won't go through the whole list because you have 20 here, but there is a good one: duty free, click and collect.
Well, this again is probably tying in with the luggage thing, So if you want to buy stuff in Dublin Airport or whichever airport you're leaving and you don't want to bring liquid, so you might buy a big bottle of perfume or something like that, or alcohol, and you don't want to bring it back with you, or you can't because you're stuck on 10 kilos, just use the click and collect. You can order it actually 3 months, would you believe, in advance in Dublin Airport and Cork Airport, up to 12 hours before your flight if you're travelling within the EU, and just pick it up on your way back. And you often sometimes see, if you sign up to their newsletter, The Loop, you'll see offers coming in. So you know the way you see them in Brown Hamilton's boots and that, you buy 2 products and you get a free makeup bag with whatever.
Yeah.
The Loop do stuff like that as well. So you can actually book it months in advance and have it and know you'll get it when you're coming out to the other side.
Yeah.
And Shannon and Knock, in fairness, do a similar thing. They don't do it online, but they do a shop and collect. So when you're actually in duty free, you can say, look, you can buy it there at the counter and then collect it when you're coming back. So it's not an online thing, but it's still a similar system. It just saves you carrying stuff that you don't necessarily need with you,
Yeah. Another one as well, your transfers, booking your transfers, because I know there will be some people who go on the package deal and they have the coach collect them from the airport, bring them to their hotel, but then you might not have that as well. We did that actually. We had the guy waiting there with the sign with our name when we arrived, and it's so handy. Instead of thinking, right, we're now at the airport, how do we get to our hotel?
Absolutely. You can pre-book, even if you haven't got a package booked. Most places you can pre-book transfers now. There's lots of transfer companies you can do it for. At least you know exactly how much it's going to cost. I would always really recommend booking transfers if you can. If you are dead set on getting a taxi, just download Uber or one of the apps beforehand, because they're usually, particularly in places like Portugal, they're much cheaper than the regular taxis. And you can also kind of know exactly how much it's going to cost, or even a quick Google search before you get to the airport to say, well, look, how much is a typical taxi from, Faro Airport to Albufeira? So, if you jump in and they say €50, you're going, no, hold on, that's not right. Or,
Yeah,
so even just kind of be a little, because taxi scams, I'm sorry for any taxi man out there listening, but taxi scams are notorious for tourists when you're away. So just be prepared and know kind of approximate prices that you're going to be paying. Okay,
if anyone wants to go to Portugal, we used a company called Yellowfish Transfers, and they were very good. And actually, I think they ended up being cheaper. Some friends of ours used a taxi, and I think they were the transfer company, which is, you think a transfer company would be more pricey, but I think they were cheaper. Just a couple of things. Obviously, you're checking in online beforehand and checking out your data roaming.
Most places, I was in Andorra this year, and you don't even think, because you just automatically think Europe is fine, but because it's not actually in the EU, got hit with a huge bill when I came back. Yeah, so it's just a matter of being aware, particularly if you're travelling to the States or something like that. An awful lot of the time you can buy these eSIMs, which are much cheaper. You can buy, I think you can even buy them on Amazon, but just a quick Google on each country, and you can get generally a separate SIM, and it will save you a fortune if you don't want to use your roaming, or at least make a call to your phone company before you go to make sure you know what to expect, what kind of prices it is, so you can make a decision then whether to go and buy an eSIM or what you want to do beforehand.
Okay, super. Well, that list is up there, all 20 things, your ultimate holiday checklist on the Travel Expert, thetravelexpert.ie. Thanks, Sarah. Chat to you next week.
Thanks a million, Trina.
Travel Saturday with Sarah and Ed on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.
With Visit New Jersey. From sky to shore, from sun to snow, with winning historic cities.
See visitnj.org.